English translation. 525th Contact Friday, the 26th of August 2011, 22:43 hours.
Hello, Quetzal. This really is a surprise. Florina told me that you and Ptah will not come here until tomorrow afternoon, when he, Bernadette, and I have finished the correction work. But be welcome, dear friend, and greetings also.
I also greet you, my friend. Unfortunately, I had to come now because tomorrow is not possible for me. An important matter has arisen which requires my presence tomorrow, so I had to change my plan.
It is also so good that you are here now. Florina has surely informed you of what we have to discuss, I suppose.
This is of correctness, which is why I have consulted with Ptah and 2 others, and can explain to you right away what we have decided about all this, and think that it is correct if you use and consider the following important things for yourself, so that there are no more misunderstandings. It is necessary that you record the whole thing at the next general meeting, and also include it in your manual. So I want to explain the following, which I have already inserted into your computer equipment with Zafanat Panik's help a few days ago, so you only have to insert it here when I say so.
I do not understand. I have not seen anything in my computer that has been inserted. How is that even possible? Besides, Florina must have passed on to you everything I told her, just a little bit.
Florina told me everything you told her to do, and she also recorded everything that was discussed at your interim meeting on the 20th of August.
Aha! The whole thing took a bit of time, although I thought it could have been done in 10 or 15 minutes.
It actually became very lengthy, and a lot of things were also not relevant. It did not have to be, because the facts were clear and would have required fewer explanations and clear decision-making instead of a long talk that just made everything more complicated. The reason you have not seen what I wrote to you is because Zafanat Panik had my answer about Florina inserted into your computer. This was done via the control device, you know, which has a direct connection to your computer and can insert anything you want into it. Everything works in the same way as it did some time ago when you wrote several thousand pages for us, which were transferred directly to the control panel.
I can understand that, but where do I find what you put into my computer?
You cannot find it, because I have to make it visible through a certain manipulation, after which you can use it.
Well, the computer is on, then please. But one more question. Is what you let me cheat into the computer also in the server?
Zafanat Panik said something like that, yes. It will not take long. Just a moment, there it is already.
Can I copy this now?
You can, yes.
Good. Then I will now add it to my work folder. This is done.
Then you can add it here to our conversation. Everything that is important and necessary has been written.
I will. But let me read the whole thing first, so that I can see if you really have taken everything into account that is necessary. If everything is there, then we would not have to talk about it much.
1. It should be taken into account that the private rooms of the center residents are and must remain absolutely private, so passive members are not to be accommodated in such private areas. 2. For the center residents, the entire center is their own place of residence, where they must be able to move freely and unhindered. There must therefore be certain regulations regarding passive members coming to and working in the center, which lay down a set of rules to ensure that the center residents do not feel that their freedom of movement, privacy, and freedom are impaired by passive members present. 3. Only the residents of private premises determine how they are to be furnished and whether family members, relatives, or other persons not resident in the center have access. Craftsmen, authorities, fire and insurance inspectors, etc. must have free access, while core group members should only have access with the permission of the premises residents. 4 toilets, showers, and bathrooms in the center's main building are intended exclusively for the center's residents and core group members. Visiting family members, personal friends, and special friends of the center, and Selena's therapy persons, while passive members may use the shower cubicle, wash basin, and toilet in the sanitary room. 5. Friends of the center can be offered the opportunity to stay overnight in the center's rooms, if such a possibility exists and if it is appropriate to stay in the house. The Atlant and Natten room, as well as the guest room, belong to the flat Ava Billy, which are solely responsible for their use. 6. The kitchen is to be a general cooking, dining, and recreation room, which can be used by all center residents and core group members equally as they wish. The kitchen should also be available for stays with invited guests, family members, and friends. Passive members will have access for kitchen staff, meal times, coffee breaks, etc., as well as for conversations with core group members, provided that there are no adverse effects on the center residents and core group members. 7. Passive members are to have the right to remain in the kitchen until 22:00 hours after dinner, and when the kitchen work has been completed to a large extent, while friends of the center decide for themselves when they want to go to their night's lodging. The condition is that the house is quiet after 22:00 hours, and that there are not disturbances to the night's rest of the center residents. From 0:00 hours, the night watch is responsible for ensuring that peace and quiet is maintained in the kitchen and also outside. 8. Long-term stays of more than 3 weeks per year for passive members should not be permitted, so that the center residents and in general also the core group members who come to the center are not impaired in their peace and freedom, etc., by long-term passive members. 9. Passive members should be allowed to stay at the center for 3 weeks per year, either 3 consecutive weeks or 3 times a week. Special and possibly necessary exceptions can be determined on a case-by-case basis by an overall group decision or by the board. 10. For passive members, weekend stays at the center should be allowed from Friday evening until Sunday evening. 11. Passive members should only be allowed to stay at the center if they cooperate in the various tasks involved. The center is not a holiday center for passive members. 12. Core group members should be allowed to spend their holidays at the center, although according to the overall group decision, a total of 3 days of compulsory work are required for the holiday period. If this is done, then the remaining holiday time can be spent without work as desired. 13. With regard to meals, both core group members and passive members are subject to the regulation as set out in the overall group decision, which states that breakfast does not have to be paid for, but that a contribution towards expenses of CHF 7.00 is payable for each lunch and dinner taken. 14. Passive members should be encouraged to use a tent or caravan for their stay at the center. 15. The construction site caravan, this emergency sleeping place, as well as the Greenbilly caravan, should not be used regularly for overnight stays and stays for passive members. But these 2 caravans should only be used for 1. Financially weak passive group members who cannot use an inn and do not have a tent. 2. Inhospitable weather conditions if the use of a tent is not possible. 3. Special emergencies. 16. Passive members. Core group members, FIGU guests, and other persons who voluntarily work in the center in any kind of work should not be paid from FIGU finances, because any work in the center should be free work. Excluded from this are craftsmen and specialists commissioned by FIGU as well as Silvano. Special. With regard to passive members or other persons who come to the center, the rule must apply that if they suffer from mental illnesses problems, no core group members can or may not respectively be psychologically or psychiatrically responsible for them. Mentally ill passive members or other persons should be treated by psychologically and psychiatrically trained specialists, but not by laypersons. For this reason alone, Such persons must be referred by the core group members to trained specialists, and consequently, the members of the core group are also not allowed to carry out their own treatment activities. Forest Room A. The forest room is intended for general use by the core group members, as well as for 1. Core group members related equal sign life companion respectively personally associated girlfriend-boyfriend. 2. Girlfriends-boyfriends of the center. 3. Core group family members. 4. Core group relatives. Russian Caravans B. The Russian caravan is intended for general use by the core group members and for 1. Core group members related equal sign life companion respectively personally associated girlfriend-boyfriend. 2. Girlfriends-boyfriends of the center. 3. Core group family members. 4. Elderly passive members. 5. Passive members with severe physical disabilities. 6. Emergency camp for passive members when everything is occupied in the construction site vehicle and in the Greenbilly caravan. 7. Invited FIGU guests. 8. According to particular core group General Assembly decision for special cases.
It really seems to have been said everything that needs to be said. More is probably not necessary. My compliments, my friend, and many thanks.
It is a pleasure for me.
Now I would like to say that Andreas and I have talked about what has to be done in terms of an official registration of passive members for a 3-week stay in the center. I call Andreas and ask him what he found out from the authorities. One moment, please. You heard what he said yourself. So it is not necessary to register with the authorities if you are staying at the center for 3 weeks.
Then this is also clear.
Now, if you are not in a hurry, I would like to ask another question.
It is time again for me to fulfill my obligation, but it is still possible to answer questions.
Surely you are aware of the huge Hurricane Irene, which is currently approaching the U.S. from the Pacific Ocean from the south, and is said to be 1,100 kilometers in diameter. A size such as that which occurs in storm areas on the planet Jupiter, for example. The whole thing is based on an outgrowth of climate change, which could have been caused by the degeneration of the human beings on Earth as a result of their overpopulation. In my predictions, I pointed out these natural outgrowths as early as the 1950s, but the Earthlings only laughed at them, and now they have to bear the disastrous consequences. I am now interested in your opinion on whether these enormous natural disasters and climate change could have been prevented at that time if correct and rigorous action had been taken when I drew the attention of world governments and the media, etc., to the impending dangers of climate change, etc., and blamed them for overpopulation.
60 years ago, when you sent your first predictions and warnings to governments and the media worldwide, there would have been time to moderate the whole of the rapid climate change and its consequences in such a way that the present catastrophic state of affairs would not have occurred. If your predictions and warnings had been listened to and acted upon, which you have been sending out into the world over the decades, then at least the worst could have been prevented. The greed for money and profit and the unreasonableness of Earth humans, however, drove all negative things further, as well as the senseless growth of the human population of the Earth, which inevitably caused more and more destruction to the planet and to the climate. Now it is effectively too late, because the development of climate change caused by terrestrial humanity and the natural disasters it causes, which will be much worse in the future, are not to be stopped.
Unfortunately, it is so. This is clear to me.
What if that was it?
No more questions. Thanks for your explanation.
Good. Goodbye.
Bye, and see you again.